This is a Podco original.
Sabrina, you started a podcast around dating.
Like, you have to know, one, how are you presenting yourself, right? Like,
As a fucking badass, like always.
It's a me, Mom.
It's me. He's like, no, I said I meant an equal. I didn't say I meant my equal.
And I was like, how did dating and sex go together?
So,
We're on a podcast. Welcome back
Nice.
to the Declassified podcast.
We
Survival
back.
Guide. If you haven't already, hit subscribe, leave us a review, leave us a rating, and leave us a comment.
We'll love it. We'll love you for it.
Today,
I wanted to introduce our guest, but then comment on Daniel's shirt.
okay.
Which first?
Today in studio, we have a very special
Very
guest.
special.
This is someone who I had on my now retired podcast, Growing Up
Hey.
with Devin.
Nice.
She's here to discuss with us a very popular struggle amongst all of us, which is dating and finding love. We have dating coach and podcast extraordinaire Sabrina Zohar.
Sabrina Zohar.
guys, I'm so excited.
You are so cute. We've all commented on how cute your little two pieces. You're such a summer
Vibrant.
girl. We love that.
Thank you, Florida girl at heart. Florida girl all the way.
Nice.
Right on.
Nice. Got some flamingos on the shirt. What? Some people on what do you call those things? The jet skis?
Oh, yeah, Florida.
Jet skis, indeed.
Oh, it's all Florida.
It's all Florida, yeah.
Daniel, have you ever
Florida
been?
vibes. To Florida? Yeah, absolutely.
Wow,
But I
not-
was always
not
in
great
Orlando.
spots.
Not so
I'm
many.
sorry.
Yeah.
Daniel, you look like a big bowl of sherbet.
Sherbet. Yeah, you know, in fact, I identify as a thrifty sherbet from Rite Aid.
Oh,
if
man,
you will.
the best.
Yes,
the best.
it is the
Such a
best.
good treat.
This is a good look
Now,
on you.
you
Sure,
know-
such a good look on you.
Sherbet.
Daniel, you said before that you knew what question I wanted to follow that up with.
Yes, and I'm most certain it's the question on everyone's mind. What's the difference between sherbet and sorbet? Is
That was absolutely not even kind of.
I assume that was your question. No, what was your question? What was your question?
Why is sherbet spelled sherbet? Is it spelled sherbet?
Wait, that's an honest question.
Like a B-E-R-T?
Let me look it
Yeah.
up. Is it B-E-R-T or B-E-T? I think it is
I think it's
B-E-R-T.
B-E-R-T. Sherbet.
Sherbet.
Let's see.
I'm
Sorbet
pleading the
versus
fifth on this
sherbet.
one since I don't.
B-E-T.
Oh no, she's right. It's sherbet. B-E-T. Sherbet. And I've always said sherbet. I like that.
No. But I feel like it's pronounced Bert, but it's bed.
Yeah,
Sherbet?
I know the sorbet.
First of all,
then
sherbet. What is the
sherbet.
difference between sorbet and sherbet?
So apparently, and I just looked this up because you asked, but sorbet
I
has
didn't ask.
it has dairy products. It's a creamier texture because it has whipped cream or either milk, things like that.
sherbet's just the ice?
It's just the ice and the the tasty
sauce?
stuff. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
All right.
Anyways,
Well,
Sorbet. Yes,
let's
but
Sabrina.
dating life.
Sabrina.
Yes.
What a
welcome to our
segue.
podcast.
Yes. Welcome,
Thanks,
welcome.
guys.
You know, this is really just going off the rails already.
quick
It's
chaos.
perfect.
Perfect. I'm so happy to be here.
Typical Neds pod fashion.
So for our audience members, Sabrina, you started a podcast around dating.
Yeah, so
Hey.
it was now called the Sabrina Zohar Show.
Yes.
Yeah, it's always so fun when you get a cease
Yeah.
and desist on your podcast name.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, this happened
Yeah.
recently.
Quick
Yeah, this
rebrand,
was
though.
like 3 weeks ago, and all of a sudden you're like, just kidding. So anxiety will do that for you. All of a sudden you're like, I'm motivated. So yeah,
To stay out of jail.
yeah, precisely to like keep your money in your business.
Yeah.
So yeah, I started this like about what. January 2023, I like started TikTok a couple of months prior and just being like, all right, for me, TikTok was like my Hannah Montana, you know, like that way no one would know. So it was like, okay, no one knows me on TikTok. I'll start this. And then Instagram was my other like business owner persona. And then once the TikTok started to grow, I was like, oh, I think maybe other people are resonating with what I'm saying, started the podcast. Called Do the Work at one point, now called The Sabrina Zohar Show. And it's really just focused on like dating, anxiety, and how to actually do the work. Because I think for so long, for me personally, I was a hot mess and I was completely off the rails with my anxiety and just moving forward with such an anxious way of dating that it was not producing the results I wanted. And so then once I really once I really started to understand, like, how do you implement the stuff that your therapist is saying, the stuff that you see online? How do you avoid the clickbait? How do you actually cultivate a healthy and secure relationship? Was when I was like, I think it's time to share that with the audience. And so here we are.
Amazing.
we
And
are.
I definitely know it resonates.
Yeah.
I resonate with the way you speak, which is very blunt, because also I feel like there is a lot of like clickbaity dating advice on TikTok.
Jesus.
Like so much of it. Like, if he doesn't text you within 11 minutes of you texting him, never talk to him again.
not the
because
one.
you're a queen and he's not. And you're
Yes.
just like, is that a good rule to start with?
But remember, you're not a high value woman if you go to coffee. And it's like, Jesus fuck. I'm sorry, like.
Oh, yeah, that
you
one.
know.
Like, if he asks you out for a coffee, drop him because he's a fucking loser. And it's like, what?
So what it is, it's like what I really see a lot with one of the clickbait. It's like we're feeding into that entitlement of just like I exist, thus kiss the ring, and it's like whoa, who am I in your life? Like I am my main character. I am not shit in anybody else's movie besides my own.
Bars.
And well, a part of it, but I'm not a main character, right? Like I am I'm an extra in so many plays and so many parts. And I think that a lot of people, when they get into the dating world, they expect like, no, I want to be your main character immediately. And I'm sitting here, I got ready. You owe me exclusivity. Wow. I should be getting texts every day. And it's like, I'm sorry. Who taught you that that's the behavior that we should be exhibiting in dating, especially when you're like, oh, I don't know. Do you know this person? Like, do you know what they're allergic to? You don't even know their middle name, but yet you want this person to text you good morning every morning. And if they don't, you're going to cut them off without allowing, I don't know, something to grow.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
Lack of awareness.
Yeah.
It's real.
and accountability. It's like, it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like you focus a lot on the kind of the beginning of dating, right? Like the finding of a person and the getting to know phase, which I think is like, it's the most delicate. It's the most important part. If you can be involved in that in the right way, take the pace at the right level, like you're setting yourself up for success. I think a lot of people can either go too fast, too slow. Like the getting to know phase is where probably the most challenges are.
I see it as like laying a solid foundation, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
I could come in and redo your house and you're like, there's a lot of issues here. We've got to kind of take, but for me, you want a healthy and secure relationship that starts with becoming a healthy and secure person. That starts with how you show up. That starts with the intentionality, with the energy that you bring, the way that you communicate. That way, as you develop the relationship, you have the tools that you need that you've learned from the beginning versus I see it every day of like, it'll be the shit show of a relationship and then people are trying desperately to like grip on and hold and can you help me fix this? And it's like, no. What I can do though is help you start from the ground up so that you feel like you have some solid ground below you. And then from there, it's a rinse and repeat. Because I'll be honest, what is a healthy and secure relationship? It's one giant conversation. You're just always communicating like, hey, you know, this doesn't make me feel great, or hey, I don't love this, or hey, I really do love this, or here's what I need. You don't have to fight, you don't have to argue, you don't have to belittle, you don't have to bring somebody down. And I think if we can teach people from the beginning how to successfully set up something, like anything, if you have a solid foundation, maybe you'll be off the fucking dating apps, right? Like maybe you'll finally meet somebody that may not be what you thought it was going to be. And as much as I love my partner, we've talked about this, like not the vision that I thought it was going to be when I was a kid, this like perfect human that does not exist. And that's okay because what I got was so much better. And what I got was so much better for me. And it's like, I'm happy with that.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Setting things up right and letting go of the expectation of perfect. I think our entire culture, including me, we're all fucked with the expectation and the desire for this ideal, whatever that ideal is that we put up there in the ether, and maybe let go of someone in our life because we're waiting for the fucking ideal. Who is it?
I feel like those expectations are something that have like freed me from dating. Wait, hold on, I lost the plot. Go on for a second.
Okay. I think.
Okay. Those expectations about dating have both like freed me, like have added more clarity, but then have also been really a hindrance because I was like, I just heard once that you shouldn't expect from your partner things that you are not, right? Mm-hmm. And so that was like, okay, that makes that a little bit clearer. But then like, how do you ever feel like you are all the things you kind of want to be, or like enough on that track? I guess like your magnetism just kind of attracts people at that point.
So think about it like this. It's like, okay, if I want someone who's a clear communicator, that's consistent, that's reciprocal, that's trustworthy, okay, well, I need to show up as that, right? Like my partner is significantly more avoidant. Like, so if we look at attachment styles and all the buzzwords, it's like you've got 3 major attachment styles and then you have a secure. Of course, there's all these amalgamations and different hybrids, but like, let's just go based off that. Anxious, avoidant, disorganized, and secure. Somebody who's anxious, hi, that was me. Poster child, it's constant reassurance from the other person. I need you to tell me everything's okay. I need you to text me 1,000 times. I'm creating narratives in my head. I need you to let me know that those aren't real. Now, is that normal as a human? It becomes an issue when you're like, I can't get through my day because if I don't get a text, I'm going to have a panic attack. That's when it becomes a problem.
Yeah.
Then we go into the avoidant as somebody who like completely avoids, right? Like goes inwards, removes themselves. I can't handle this. They, but everything's a spectrum, right? Like, so if we're looking and you're like, hey, yeah, I'm really secure within who I am. Like, I don't necessarily need all that. But I struggle with communication. It's like, okay, well, then you're probably going to date people that struggle with communication. Because if I'm not showing up being like, hey, here's what I need, here's what I want, here's how this impacted me, how would you then be able to do that? Because what ends up happening is like when we're dysregulated and our nervous system feels like there's a threat, we go into the limbic part of our brain. I love brain stuff, so excuse me for nerding out for a second. We have the prefrontal cortex, which is decision making and common sense in the front of our brain. That is where you come from when you're secure, right? Or not secure, when you're regulated. So like right now, we're all safe, we're all using our logical brain. If a tiger walked by, all of us would get dysregulated, rightfully so. The problem is our cell phones are a tiger. The other person is this tiger constantly. And so depending on how you show up is exactly what you're gonna receive. So like when I met my partner, I was very blunt, very upfront. Asked the religion, politics, what do you want? Do you want marriage? Do you want kids? It wasn't an interview, it was a 5-hour date over the course of talking. But I asked all those questions, which then gave him the cue of like, whoa, okay, she's dealing with a different level of depth here. Now I get to show up as that. Without that, it's like, well, yeah, usually when you hear like, oh, my partner's like this, it's like, take a look. If your partner's emotionally unavailable, there's probably a good aspect that you are as well. I know.
Yeah.
It's shitty.
That's good.
Nobody wants to have to see
Look
those
inside,
parts.
yeah.
So you mentioned that you have been on apps since you were 18.
When I moved to New York, I just turned 19, like
Okay.
a day. Like literally it was like the day before or day after. And OkCupid came out then. And so I was like, oh, okay. Like I was still going out, like meeting people organically, but it was new. And we were like, whoa, Match was the only thing. And oh, wow, there's an app now on this phone. So I tried it. Then I was around for like all the Coffee Meets Bagel, Tinder, Bumble, everybody that came after. I've taken my time off. I've met people on them, but like I understand that world of the digital dating because like all of us as millennials, it's like we were thrown into it at a very young age. Now, the next generation, that being all they know, fucking terrifies me.
Yeah.
Right? Or is everyone single?
Oh no, I'm in a
Relationship?
Single.
Single. Okay. So as having two in relationships, two single, I would deduce that almost all of us have been on an app at some point in our life.
I've never been on dating. I've used Instagram and TikTok to date, but not a dating app.
Right.
But yes.
But like, yeah. So even
have,
three. So 75% of the four of us here have been on an app.
Yeah.
That's usually most people's experience. And I see it all the time, which is really, I don't know if you guys have this feeling. People are like embarrassed to say they met someone on an app, but they'd rather do it in person.
Yeah, what is that? What actually is that?
It's just a stigma, like because an app looks. Oh, you're on a dating app. Wow,
thirsty.
Like, you're thirsty. You must really want
It's
it.
so weird.
Yeah,
'cause
I
these-
do.
Yeah,
I do really
yeah, 'cause
want it.
these
I have
days-
nothing to
That's why
hide.
I'm on here.
Everything's on an app.
Yeah, everything's an app these days. I don't know why they're like. I see that people have a
I
stigma
feel like that was
around
the
it, but
beginning. Like, I don't know why that's still
yeah, I
a
get
thing.
it when like
If you're
Tinder was
very
first
happy-
out, like you were kind of hush
You're
hush,
meeting
like we met
random
on
people.
Tinder.
Yeah.
But now it's so ubiquitous with dating. Like
Yeah, some of the
everyone's
happiest
on a fucking
couples,
app.
and they're still like, yeah, we met on an app. And it's like,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. I wish that would happen for me.
The thing with the apps though is like you got to be a good buyer. Like you have to know one, how are you presenting yourself, right? Like
You're
you're
a fucking badass, like always.
Fuck yeah, you are. Yeah, and it's like, but then we have to look at what is the person that we're saying yes to? Who are the
Yeah.
people that we're like? I had somebody write in the other day. Now bless her. And like I get a lot of stuff that you're like, oof, okay, this is where we're helping people. And she said I matched with a guy, and we said one message to each other, and he then unmatched me. And she was like, but before that, I figured out that he was a really successul guy. And I'm like, projection. So you're already creating this version of who you want this person to be because, oh my God, but he's successful. Then you start to fill in the blanks. Oh, well, we could do this together and look at these dinners he's going to. Right. So long story medium is she comes to me saying, so he unmatched or deleted his profile. My friend found him. I want to message him. What do you think? And I was like, girl, don't you fucking dare. That is such a violation of privacy that we have to be able to understand, like, what are you holding on to? If you met somebody in an app, like, this is a stranger that might not even be real. What are we, and that's where I see that's the anxiety of like, I'm never going to find anyone else. This is the one opportunity. This is it. And it's like, I think we all can safely say there's like almost 9 billion people in the world. If you think there's one,
You're tripping.
you're tripping.
And you're also setting up the game to lose. if you think you got to find
The
just
one, yeah. Needle in a
one.
haystack.
Just one.
Yeah,
just
one
playing
per
bad
season.
odds.
Am I right?
Right.
Like the seasons of my life rotate. You know what I mean?
The beautiful part,
Yes.
like, thank you for bringing seasons up. It's so goddamn important to date someone for a full amount of time, right? Like the seasonal dating. I hear this every day of like, after our first or second date, they asked me to be exclusive. And I'm like, you don't know what they're allergic to or what their mother's maiden name is, but yet that's a relationship now?
Yeah.
Ooh.
You don't know if they get depressed when the weather gets bad. You don't know, like,
Yo.
You don't know what's their road rage? Are they rude to waiters? How are they when you get into conflict? Do they repair that conflict or do they walk out of the room? What are they like when you have an issue, when you cry? How do they support you? You know none of that. What you know is, I'm anxious, I don't want to keep dating. Yay, there they are.
I just want to possess you.
Found him.
Yeah.
And I was her. That's why I know so well. I know the thought process. I used to be her. So it's like
Love that.
you can heal. It's just
same.
a matter of like, Devin, you're in therapy. We're all like doing this work. It's just a matter of like when the rubber meets the road, are you going to intellectualize all this work and say, yeah, I understand it. But are you going to implement that work when you're actually dealing
Being
with someone?
conscientious is so hard. You're like, I know what to do, but I won't do it.
Yeah.
Eh.
I know. Daniel, how long have you been in a relationship for?
I was just going to
6 years.
Yeah, go.
6
years, okay.
Yeah.
And now, would you agree that like it's so much communication? Like it's
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Especially when you're living in the same space as a person, there's a lot of communication that goes on and you learn a lot about what you like and what you don't like.
And the
Yes.
fear has to go out the window because like the fear of, I don't want to say anything, I'm going to push them away. No, I don't want to say anything, I'm going to scare them away. It's like, yeah, that's just self-abandoning. It's like, so you're telling yourself that your needs don't matter because theirs are more important. No, their behavior. No, I care about their well-being more than mine. And it's like, well, who taught you that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough, man. Tough. Yeah, relationships are they're a whole domain to navigate.
I mean,
What
you
attachment
think-
style do you think you have, Daniel?
Attachment style?
Avoidant.
What are the
Avoidant.
avoidant?
Yeah.
Probably. That sounds like me. I don't know
Avoidant.
them all. Tell me all the attachment styles.
So you have the four main ones.
I think I'm disattached. Do they have
No,
one of
so
those?
there's
I'm
like-
unattached? No,
Yeah, if only you're like, I don't have one. And like, listen, it's like a theory like anything else. There are people that don't believe in this, but with the data and the science and what we've seen, it's fucking real.
Yeah.
So you have the anxious, like I said, which is just, it's a fear of abandonment. That's the underbelly of an anxious attacher, is scared of being abandoned, right? So like that comes from somebody like me who had like very inconsistent caregivers. You didn't have object permanence. You didn't trust one of your caregivers. My dad was in and out. He was very abusive. So like you didn't know when there was someone who could show up, and my mom wasn't present. So for me, you're at a young age, you learn I'm too much. What's wrong with me? I'm not good enough. I have to seek. I have to do.
Don't leave, don't leave, don't leave,
Oh,
don't
yeah,
leave, don't
controlling?
leave, don't
Does it
leave,
become
don't
the
leave, don't
controlling
leave.
thing?
It can.
Yeah, yeah.
It can be the extremity, right? So like a
Yeah.
pendulum, it can swing
Okay, so I'm
either
not
way.
that one, but yeah, I've been
So then we go
introduced to
avoidant.
those.
Avoidant
Avoidant, which
is
Fear of
fear of rejection.
freedom, right?
Yeah, so if there is a fear of intimacy
Is-
there, a loss of freedom.
Oh,
Loss
fear
of
of loss
freedom.
of freedom. I have that.
Yeah, so with an avoidant, it's a fear of the deeper root is a fear of rejection. I don't want to be rejected for who I actually am, so go ahead, let me keep space. And so that's
Big
like
bowl of sherbet.
It's me, Mom.
it's to me. So that's like when we look at that avoidant attachment, those are the people that like, and again, it's a spectrum, right? Like my partner might be more avoidant. So what that looks like is when he gets overwhelmed and he gets like dysregulated, he completely shuts down. But you can see it on his face that he's going through something, but it looks often like people, they don't care. They remove themselves. And it's like, no, they're humans and they have the same reaction. Mine goes outwards, theirs goes inwards.
Yes,
That's
See,
really
my
it.
apathy. Like I'm like, no, there's a real person inside of there. Okay.
Exactly.
My dear listeners, you might not know this about me, but I'm a bit of a cereal guy. As a kid, I loved cereal. And as an adult, I still love cereal. But as an adult, it's hard for me to find a cereal that doesn't have way too much sugar and not enough protein. But recently, I found Magic Spoon, a nostalgically delicious cereal that tastes just like my childhood favorites, but without the sugar and with a ton of protein. Every serving of Magic Spoon has 13 grams of protein, 0 grams of sugar, and 4 grams of net carbs, so you can feel good about eating cereal. They also have 10 flavors that all taste just like the cereal you loved as a kid. Their most popular are fruity, cocoa, frosted, and peanut butter. But there are so many more like blueberry muffin, cinnamon roll, birthday cake, honey nut, and maple waffle. I love that Magic Spoon makes it so easy for me to eat more protein when I'm too tired or busy to cook, which is often. Fun fact, cereal is not just a breakfast food. It's my favorite late night snack. Get $5 off your next order of delicious cereal at magicspoon.com/Neds or look for Magic Spoon in your nearest grocery aisle. That's magicspoon.com/Neds for $5 off. Magic Spoon. hold on to the dream.
So we have to have some compassion for because they got a terrible rep. They look like, oh, I don't care. It's like just because someone's not expressive doesn't necessarily mean
It's
they
still
don't care.
going on.
Yeah.
Then we have the disorganized, which is a smaller group, but that is the amalgamation. So you'll see that intense push-pull. You meet somebody and they're like all over you, and then the next day they're completely changed, and then they're completely disregarding you. And then they're all over
That's
you.
a fun one.
It's a maddening one. You feel like you're literally going insane because 1 second you're close and you're feeling this, like I will never forget the guy I dated that was disorganized. The night before told me I've met an equal and like you're all of this. Like we had this amazing night and I'm like, fuck yeah. And in the morning I remember we woke up and I was like, oh, like last night that was amazing. You said all this, and he's like, no, I said I met an equal. I didn't say I met my equal. And I was like,
my God.
and that's when you're just
You're
like,
like, what is reality?
No,
Exactly.
dude,
Why
I've
did you say
dated this
anything?
person. I've dated this person.
You
you
dated
know.
the same guy, huh?
Yeah,
Jesus.
probably. But
What is
that's
that
that
about?
disorganized. And that comes from a lot of, it doesn't have to be physical abuse, but it could be a lot of that type of like mental abuse where they want love, right? As a kid, you're like, I want my parents to love me. And then that person causes abuse or pain to you. So fine, I don't trust it. I remove myself. But then the top of the tier is secure, right? Somebody that knows who they are, is not going to, like, if somebody doesn't call you, the secure person might say, yeah, they're busy. They're doing their thing. Versus the anxious person, they don't like me. I knew they
Makes
found
the whole
somebody else.
story.
You spin this narrative. So, ladies and gentlemen, what do we identify as?
I feel closer to secure though now that you're saying that, because I've never wanted to own a person or feel like they have to check in with me, like all of that. But then I do value the freedom. So is there like a secure, what was it? Secure what was it?
And
So
avoidant.
avoidant.
And
So you can
avoidant.
be earned secure. So like
Earned secure.
so let's say like where we want to look at how your attachment style starts to manifest is when you get dysregulated. So your nervous system, when you have acute or
Okay, so
nervous.
in
So when you're dysregulated. So for instance,
Avoidant.
right? Yeah. So if your partner has something and like you get triggered, do you,
What do you do?
initially do you go inwards or do you go outwards or do you have that push pull where you're like, fine, leave me alone, but why aren't you calling me?
I know what you're saying about
Handle it on your own. I will be over there.
Yeah, I think we're all avoidant.
Okay.
Or no,
when
you might be.
dysregulated. No, I'm avoidant when
He's like,
when
no, I'm there.
When dysregulated, yeah,
Yeah.
I'll
He's
I'd
just,
anxious
say
in
avoidant.
life, but not in
I'd
relationships.
say avoidant too.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And but you see how the road to recovery, if you will, is very similar for the avoidant and the anxious person. It's really okay,
Communication, right?
Where'd you learn this from?
Yeah.
Like, okay, so who in your life taught you that, like, for me, I learned, okay, where did I learn that somebody's going to leave me all the time? My father, right? It was very clear. But then you look at my sister who's really avoidant, because you can have siblings can all manifest differently.
For sure.
Where did she learn it? Every time she had an emotion, she'd get hit. She was that kid that my dad just really took it out on. And my heart goes out to her, but like she's scared because what is that connection is me expressing myself and having an emotion means I lose connection to my caregiver.
Oh,
So it's
wow.
not safe.
Wow.
And that's the thing is people underlook how intense and real these attachment styles are and they start in your childhood. That's it. Like there's no, I hear it all the time. I hear it every fucking day. I had the perfect childhood. No. I had the perfect childhood. It's like, no, girl, you can't sit still for 3 minutes. You can say you had the perfect childhood. No one's villainizing your parents. You can love your parents. I love my mom all day. She did not have the tools to be the mother that I needed.
Yeah. There's a great book called the Drama of the Gifted Child, and it's a therapist writing a book about how therapists are also fucked up.
Yes.
And she's basically saying, she makes the case for like, it doesn't matter if you had the perfect childhood. Childhood in and of itself, even with loving parents who are doing their fucking best, none of us get out of childhood without these hangups. Like it is just a part of it. It doesn't matter if it happened in such a small way. Your mom was too busy in one moment where you needed her and she fucking answered the phone instead. Like that will maybe cause this divide. Like none of us get out without these hangups. So awareness and doing the work, like you say, is how you get into it. Like you don't get to pretend like you don't have fucking issues. None of us do.
Those are called little T traumas. So we look at the big T's are the ones that we could all imagine, like the real shit that you're like, okay, that's traumatizing.
Yeah.
But the little T's are like paper cuts.
Yeah.
And so there was a study done and they say that your parent needs to make eye contact with you 30% of the time for you to be secure. That right there. And like it's something so minute and small that you think of eye contact, but think of it like this. You're about to crawl. And as you're crawling and you turn around, there's no one looking at you. And so what you think is, oh my God, I'm alone. There's no one here. Versus if your mom looked at you and was like,
Dude, No
That's wild.
wonder anxiety and depression are on the rise. I mean, modern parents are on their phone. I watch it out.
wild.
Like, I love being around babies and children so much because all they need is presence. So it's an invitation for me to fuck off and actually be present with a human being. And I see, like, this is all they need. They just need you to be with them. And I'll watch out in the world a kid like kind of making a bid for attention from their parent, and the mom's on the fucking phone at the airport or whatever, and like,
Treating
that's
the kid.
little T trauma. And you might love your kid, but you not being aware that your kid needs you to look at them and give them an acknowledgement of what they're doing, good or bad. Fuck, man. Yeah, a lot of anxiety's on the rise. Like, there's no, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, with technology, I feel like we have lost out on some of those instinctual like priorities.
Yeah.
Like, it is so important. Like, you just putting that into perspective about the little kid doing whatever minute thing they're doing, looking back, and then having to have I'm not going to call that a trauma, but that shock of, oh, I'm alone. They completely lose track of that objective that they had, had locked in on, all because this connection is not there for them. And I feel like we're made for those connections to happen, and instinctually we'll have them. But now the technology is pulling those eyes away from the kids.
We're not ready for it. We're not. Our bodies are made for no more than 50 people hunter gathering in a crew, and like that's why when people are like they abandoned me, it's like, well, let's get one thing straight. You do not get abandoned in your adult life. If we look at what does the word abandon mean, if we were all in a hunter-gatherer and I woke up tomorrow and all of you were gone, my
That's
survival
abandonment.
is I would not be able to survive. That's what it means to be abandoned. As a child, your caregiver abandoning you means you might not be surviving.
Right.
Yeah.
She was like, a friend of mine and I were talking, and she's giving birth in like a month. And she was like, well, the issue is like when you're giving birth, you're making a choice to have a child, right? Like that's your decision that you're bringing in. You can't be inconvenienced. That kid has to be your number one. You can't be like, oh, well, I have to go back to work. And it's like, well, fucking think about that before you have the kid.
Before you have the kid.
Right.
Figure your shit
The
out.
kid did not ask to be here,
here.
so now you need to be responsible. Yeah, your priorities must change.
Which then brings us right back to like, and then we wonder in dating, if we see a pattern, the first thing I ask, I'm like, okay, cool. You see a pattern in your dating, I want you to ask yourself 2 questions. 1, when this person, like you're dealing with the avoidant, right? Or the emotionally unavailable. You consistently date someone that has no depth and can't go deeper. I want you to ask yourself 2 questions. 1, how do I feel in my body when I'm around this person? What are the sensations I feel? Okay, cool. I feel this, or my heart starts to drop. I start to get sweaty. The second question is then how old do I feel? How old do I feel in this moment? Because 99.9% of the time, you'll come up with a like, yeah, you're right. I actually feel like I'm 7. Or like, I feel like I'm 12 again. Something random. Because usually what ends up happening is that part of your brain, that limbic part of your brain is what's driving the car. Because we call it amygdala hijack. It's a terrible name. But essentially what happens is like sometimes like fireworks and sparks, you can bypass the prefrontal cortex and go right back into your limbic system. It's an automatic because your brain is overwhelmed. It's trying to keep you safe. So it just goes right back to what you know. The limbic part of your brain stopped growing when you were 6. The prefrontal cortex stops growing at 28. So that's why you'll start to notice young, like, have you watched Too Hot to Handle, the new season?
No.
Okay. No. It's a hot mess, this new one. It is. They changed the structure. It's different. But anywho, you start to see the difference between the 22-year-olds that are like, oh, I really like her, but I'm going to make out with her, right? They know it's wrong, but there's no critical thinking.
Yeah.
Then you see the 27-year-old. She's almost 28, prefrontal cortex almost fully developed.
Yeah.
And she's like, I really like him, and she starts to weigh out her options. And then she's like, you know what? No, I don't think that's being right to him. I'm going to stick with this guy. And you can see the difference between that going in and stopping and going, whoa, let me turn on the prefrontal cortex. Let me come from decision making and common sense, the executive function, versus reacting like a child because you go back into your limbic system.
Yeah.
Do you believe in monogamy?
I do. Personally.
Do you believe that there can be things other than monogamy?
I think I will never judge somebody if that's what they want. For me, I think usually when I talk to people that are poly or something, there's usually a trauma under it of like, I don't want to commit to one person. I need multiple things. But if that works for them and they're fulfilled and they're happy, do your fucking thing. Here's my only rule, 18 and over, consenting adult. A human, right? I have to say it.
And a human, let's underline that one. A
Human who is 18 and older,
Right.
I don't care what you date, I don't care what color, size, I don't give a flying fuck what they identify. You guys are consenting, great, go have fun.
Yeah.
But it's rough. Like when we start to date, you're going to get, that's the thing. Staying single isn't the answer. I'm just going to stay single forever. And it's like, cool, you're avoiding triggers. You cannot avoid getting triggered. You have a girlfriend, you know.
I get triggered all the time.
All the time. You guys are dating, you know. When you're in there, you're like, this person pissed me off. And it's like, but you get a choice. And we forget that we have choices in our adult dating because we go into the limbic system and feel like we're kids again who don't have choice. I couldn't. I didn't have a choice as a kid. Did you?
No.
Right, yeah.
No.
None of us really did.
How do you how did dating and sex go together?
So,
What's the order of operations?
so my partner and I slept together on the first date.
Hey.
So,
My God.
yeah. So, as he's blushing. So,
Dude, this guy has stayed, friend.
bless him. So, for me, I think what it is, it's been intentionality. Like, he had the intentions for a serious relationship, and so did I. So we very clearly communicated. But the reality was, I had just gotten out of something that was like a 2-monther, kind of one of the bullshit things. I didn't get laid. I was horny as fuck, and I wanted to get dick down.
Ayo.
So that was it.
Hey.
I knew.
That's the truth sometimes.
I knew what it was that I left going, he was great. If I never see him again, that's fine. That's, I think, like, if you're going to do it, I'm very intimacy positive. Sex, whatever. You do whatever you want when you feel you're ready. Gamifying and doing I'm not going to sleep with you for 7 dates. I'm going to make you earn it. It's like, that is where you that's where you gamify it. And then what is the person going? Great, all I have to do is wait 7 dates. Okay.
Oh, yeah, I'll play the game.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds fun. I want to know what this is like because realistically, for me at least to get into a relationship, I need a 360. I need to know how you are in different assets. And what people forget is like, hey, you can make him wait 7 dates. He can still make a choice after to go, I don't want this.
Right.
So do it when you feel ready. Communicate. Talk to this person. Hey, I want to go slow. What that means to me is I want to be exclusive before intimacy. Okay, that person might say no. So you have to be okay with that. And that's, I think, where then boundaries, people are like, oh, well then, it's never going to happen. It's like you can't have boundaries and then get mad when people don't want to play the game that you're playing with those boundaries.
Right.
Okay.
Right? Like,
Yeah, that's not how boundaries work.
right. It's like boundaries work because you're like, that's what works for me.
Right.
If that doesn't work for you,
Gotcha.
fuck off.
It's like they brought Jenga, and it's like, I don't really want to play Jenga. So
And you're like angry at them.
Maybe. Yeah.
And you're like,
Yeah.
okay, but they don't want to do that. For me, I would never wait 3 months to sleep with someone. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, no.
Well, I'm going to date 4 people a year? Like, come on.
Well, and you don't know.
Hey, that's some math right there. Yeah.
No, I agree with you in terms of like, that's an important thing to know. What is our chemistry, conversation, communication? What is that with us? Pretty important part of dating, in my opinion.
That changes the friendship roommate to a relationship.
Yeah.
Right?
That's the difference.
That's the difference. You
Yeah,
guys,
it's the one thing you can't get from a friend.
the biggest difference here is like you can have all
Am
the
I
intimacy.
right, brother?
I mean,
He's like,
right? Wow.
he's like, not today. But well, that's the difference though. It's like,
My guy.
yeah, he's like, that my dick? It reminds me of a night at the Roxbury. Did you just grab my ass? Because it's okay if you did. You're like, physically impossible for me to have done that. But I guess that to me is a differentiating factor. And I think you wait as long as you want to wait. Like there is one dating coach, and her rule is no kissing for 3 months. And I'm like, girl,
What?
back the fuck up.
Just a little sucky.
Yeah.
Hey.
No,
There's other options.
Like, that's
Just
actually
saying.
crazy. Like that's
That's-
actually crazy. What?
Then to
she was a
me,
hooker.
it's just like at that point you're like, stop using people as chess pieces.
No, that's actually crazy.
Legitimately
That's
crazy.
That's actually fucking crazy.
That to me is where I'm like, get rid of the rules. Like, if we could actually start to be like, whoa, here's a crazy fucking thought. Maybe tap into, how do I feel? How does this work? Do I like this person? Do I feel calm? Wait, if I have these crazy butterflies, maybe that's not the time to make a decision, right? Because like I'm not seeing things clearly. I'm very much coming from an emotion. Feelings aren't facts. That to me, I think is like the biggest issue that I'm having is like, we need to get rid of all these rules. And it's because people come in like, what are your rules? And I'm like, I don't have any. I don't believe in that shit, except stop with the texting. That's my only thing is like, put your phone down.
Yeah.
Start actually having conversations in person. You cannot create a depth of a relationship if you don't make eye contact. You can't.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel so bad in part, but I know why I do it when like I'm getting to know someone is like I will not a little joke here and there through text, sure, just a little check-in of joke and like, hey, I'm here, but like I will not communicate important shit over text or even getting to know you questions over text if I can't see the person say it and get a sense of like their energy.
Yeah.
We're doing a disservice to each other. Like,
Tonality, body
you're
language.
missing so much information if you're doing it over text.
And that's unfortunately become like how else
the
am I
norm.
it's like, how else am I gonna get to know them? It's like, I don't fucking know. Go out and meet meet them. Oh, fine. Okay. You meet them on an app, do a FaceTime. You wanna make
I
sure
was
they're
gonna say,
real?
at the very least, call or FaceTime so you can hear what the fuck they're saying
Something.
and what's behind the words, all of that.
I think the reality is too, like when it comes to actually building a secure and healthy relationship, it's a lot simpler. Like, especially for me. So I was the poster child for such anxiety. I thought it had to be so much harder. And I would like sell my soul and I was like, dance, monkey, dance, like whatever I need to do. Like just to get you to like me. And then when I met my partner and I started to realize like, wow, you don't really have to like work that hard at this. You just, hey, I'd like to see you. Likewise, what's your date? What's your day? Oh, I'm free this day. Great. There's your plan. And you're like, that's all it took, huh? Just two intentional people that both want the same things, both communicate, both are compatible. But that doesn't mean that it's easy. That just means that it is less difficult than the ways that I think we've been doing it, trying to fit a circle through a square peg.
Yeah.
Did your relationships get better and better as like because I assume you start out here knowing what you want and having the skills at like a 1 to be able to like accomplish what you really want in your dating life, right?
You start to have different experiences.
And then they just start to become better and better.
Because I think also too, you like for me, when I started to implement boundaries and then I started to realize like you get also reaffirming like confirmation bias as well. So like if I set a boundary, if Devin and I had a date and he was lovely with it, that's going to now set a new neural pathway of, oh, wait, that's safe. I can say that. But then if I said something to you and then you acted like an asshole, then I'd be like, wow, okay, that doesn't work for me. That doesn't feel good in my body. I don't like that. That's not in alignment with what it says that I want. It becomes a lot clearer for you to be like, yeah, that doesn't work for me. Versus, I think a lot of people look at this as like, I need to find the icks and I need to find everything I don't like. And how do I know when to stay? How do I know when to go? And it's like, are you seeing progress?
Right.
If I said,
Right.
Devin, that really bothered me, and you're like, hey, wow, thanks so much for sharing that with me. Like, it's really important for me to know I won't do that again. Great. Okay. Do they do it again? And then if they do, what is the right? Like, how is this? How is the conflict and the repair? How is it when you express yourself, when you talk? But again, like we talked about earlier, if you don't know what it is that you want, if you're not able to express those things, if you can't bring that, it's going to be hard for someone else to then match that.
Right.
So it's really like showing up unapologetically as yourself and trying to be as secure within yourself. You're also a human. It's going to happen. You're going to be anxious. Like that's normal.
Yep.
But then it's what do you do with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you do when the triggering happens? I mean, I've been single for a while, but no matter what happens, when I start dating, like I have to own, like shit starts to come up, you know, and I just try and not make it the other person's problem.
Right, which most people don't because you're aware and you're seeing, hey, I'm projecting this onto you.
Yeah.
This is very clearly not what's happening. Okay, cool. I can take a minute and a beat.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of people, you make me feel this and you did this. And you're like, yeah, you're not even using an I statement.
Yeah.
Where's the accountability? Where's the ownership of like, I had somebody write in saying he strung me along for 6 months and he lied. And it's like,
What did you do?
what was your part?
Yeah. What were you doing?
You allowed
during that
this.
time? Yeah. Yeah.
So he said bullshit and you just took it. Oh, okay. Well, but then that's when we have to be like, it's not blame, it's accountability. Yeah, you're right.
So do you feel like there's like a certain, I don't want to say threshold that someone has to cross, but like almost, I guess my question is, what percentage of people in the dating pool do you feel are not prepared for a lifetime partnership?
Like 90%. Because I hear
90%,
it
yeah.
all the time of like, I'm ready for a relationship. And you're like, oh, are you? Really? But you couldn't even tell this person that you didn't like something that they did, but you think you have the bandwidth and the tools to be in an actual relationship, yet you're freaking out over the fact that this guy spent an hour between a text to you. You have to look at like the pinch doesn't match the ouch. What you need to be in a healthy and secure relationship.
Pinch doesn't match that.
It's one of my favorite fucking
That's a
songs.
bar.
Right?
We're all taking
Yeah,
that.
it's like one of my favorite where I'm like, it's not adding up. Like if I'm ready for a secure relationship, you're gonna be like, wow, okay, whoa, look at the way this person speaks, look at how they handle themselves, look at the communication. But more often than not, it's like, that's the emotional unavailable. You think you're ready, and then when you get triggered, you don't know what to do, you get dysregulated, you don't have your emotions in check. That's, I think, why a lot of people are like, I think I'm ready, and that you're not.
And what do you say to someone who has gotten into a relationship long term and they've just now realized, yo, I entered this thing wrong. I wasn't ready and maybe made the wrong decisions off the top.
at that point, I would say like consult somebody like a therapist. Like you need to talk to somebody, you, the proverbial you, to be able to at least understand like, what was my reasoning for getting into this relationship? What were the things that I overlooked? Is this something like fixable? Like, could I actually be in a relationship with this person, but I need to do work on myself? Or is this not? Because like I have had that where I got into a relationship and 9 months later, I was like, I remember looking over to him and I was like, I don't want this. Like, this isn't working. And he was like, yeah, I think you're right. And it was very amicable.
And you
We
just kicked
both
him right out of the moving car.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, yeah, this is your exit.
Yeah, later. And like we had like a really lovely conversation and like that was it. We just part ways being like, yeah, I think we rushed into this. We really didn't know each other that well. It was a really fun time.
It's like, now I know you and I hate you.
Yeah.
No thanks.
Yeah, he was like a raging alcoholic and like I like very much functioning, very successful,
Right.
but 2 bottles of wine a night. And it's like it took me a minute to see that behavior.
And realize, oh, this doesn't work for me.
This
I don't
not what
want-
Mama
I don't
wants.
want that.
Yeah, and so like you have every right, and I think that's the thing. We're so like there's sunk cost bias of like, oh, I've been with them for 6 years, or I've been with them for 4 months. I can't start over now, and it's like I'd rather lose that 4 months or 6 years than another.
Yes, so you
If
can
somebody's
maybe
worrying
start
about
to
throwing 4
build-
months out the window, that's worrisome.
It's real though.
It's
no,
very
people,
real.
Yeah. No, I know.
There are people like one date they can't throw out the window.
Stop.
Yeah,
Yeah, like,
it's
well, we've come
Hey,
this far.
I actually don't mean any judgment. I'm
Right.
just like
Yeah.
just becoming aware of those things.
Yeah.
Like,
scarcity mindset. You know,
yeah,
like
yeah, scarcity.
yeah,
Yeah, like,
yeah.
oh, we've come this far.
Yeah.
I don't, it's like,
Yeah.
as I've gotten older, I find too, like, like, I won't know someone for I won't even attribute me knowing a person for at least 6 months.
you don't know shit.
Just because, like, there's so much of my life, like, and who I am that, like, I can't just tell you in a couple dates, and you can't tell me about your life in a couple dates. Like, I need to see you over time, and I need to feel us over time.
And what's the key word there? Time. Like,
Time.
and that's what, again, when you have that high anxiety, especially, there's no patience. No, I need it now. I can't wait because the feelings are so uncomfortable. Instead of being like, I need to figure this shit out myself and like sit in the discomfort. Like my mama has been saying this to me for years. You need to love yourself more than the need to be loved by other people.
Yo, big facts.
Right? And it's like, I
Big
know.
facts,
And it's,
man.
but it's
That's
so
like
true.
a Buddha quote. Yeah, your love for each other should exceed your need for each other.
Precisely. And it's like my mom always said that to me. And she'd be
That's
like,
so
you
beautiful.
you can't want him more than you want yourself. Because like if I want you to choose me and I haven't chosen myself, then I'm just wanting that validation and that's external, but that's never actually gonna satisfy my needs, which is why those
Yeah, this fucking tornado. Yeah.
and then toxic. Here we go.
Hey.
Yeah, you
I'm stepping
can't
under.
want them more than
they-
you want yourself. That is
is
just burn that into your
fantastic.
brains, listeners.
Fantastic.
That's so good.
Did you? Okay, one last personal question. So you didn't exactly have like an example to model your own dating life off of.
Not by a fucking long shot. I had my sister who met her husband at 20 and or like 19. And so I was like, he's a good man, treats her really well. That was the closest understanding. But like my father, he is the fuckboys I avoid. Every night's a different woman. He's on
Right.
the app. He brought a woman to New York for my nephew's birthday while on Tinder while he was with her. Like while she was in the store. And I was just like sitting there. I'm like, man, you're just like you're just like not a good person.
Right,
Yeah, you're a
right.
narcissist. And then my brother is ADHD. He's off his rocker. He has his own shit. And it's like, yeah, okay, you do your thing. But I never had anybody show me like, how does somebody support you? What is holding space? No one ever taught me how to share an emotion. Yeah. No one taught me how to have one. I always just felt like it was too much. There's something wrong with me because my father would walk out when you'd have an emotion. So it took years of conditioning because here's the thing. The fun part of all this is you can get yourself ready and be like, yay, okay, cool. I know what I don't want. Until you meet someone that is what you want, and now you have to receive it because that's going to go against your core beliefs of, is there something wrong with me? I'm not good enough. And that was the fight I had when I met Ryan. Like when I met my partner, I really thought I'm ready. And then when he was so consistent, it challenges you to be like, wait, now I have to receive this? So there's not something wrong with me. I'm not messed up. I'm perfectly beautiful as I am. And someone else can love those parts of me. It's really scary. Wow. And that's why a lot of people will be like, I can't do this.
Wow. Yeah, so it's like you build up the walls to protect yourself from hurt, but then when it's time, you gotta let them come down.
Wow.
And not put them back up.
Well, what a beautiful conversation with you. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
we are at the end
it
of our
that time?
time.
Yeah.
It's that time.
So many more questions.
But we like to end with tips. I feel like with her, let's do rapid. I'm gonna do multiple subjects of dating. I want rapid fire tips for
go.
the audience, and you're ready because you talk fast.
I do.
Hey.
Hello.
All right. So this is tips for the audience. You can look at them through the camera or us, whatever.
Okay.
All right. So first date tips.
First date tip. This is not the lifelong partner for you. Go and ask questions. And remember, you get to decide if you like them. It's not about them liking you.
Okay. The getting to know phase tips. I know you don't like general rules, but how should people approach that early stage of dating?
See if they're consistent. Do they make plans, and are they reciprocal? It's not all about what are they doing for me. It's also how am I also showing up. So it needs to be, I look at it as like a tennis match. I serve the ball, you serve it back. And it's a nice little flow back and forth. We see each other once or twice a week. We're getting to know each other. There's depth. The conversations are flowing. We're starting to make progress. That's what we want to see, not how often does this person text you in the first month.
Bam.
Great. If someone feels like they haven't dated in a while, but they want to and they want to feel ready, where does one start to do the work?
At the Sabrina Zohar show.
Turn up. Tune in.
But really, even something as simple as like starting to address like, what are your patterns, right? Like, or what is it that you want in a relationship? What are your boundaries and non-negotiables? Do you have any? What are you looking for in a partner that's not physical? Like, what are their attributes? How do you want to feel with this person? And then at the end of the day, also just knowing you're never going to be ready. You kind of just need to go out there, see how you feel, see what the experiences are, and then maybe look at the data from that and maybe go to a therapist or talk to somebody if you really just cannot get your shit together and like figure this out.
So good. Another for people who feel like they just can't meet anyone, like they can't meet somebody. It's not happening.
So my best suggestion is like put yourself into the places that you like to be. So like for me, I don't drink alcohol. I don't like it. It's just like it makes me dizzy. It's not my thing. So I'm not going to go to a bar. I'm not going to try to meet somebody. So I go on Eventbrite and I find like when I moved to LA, I tried the hike club. I joined a cooking class. Ryan always suggests going to the farmer's market because that was his thing. He's a big cook and he loves, and you can like start talking to somebody. If you see someone on a Sunday that's alone at a farmer's market and they don't have a ring on, that person's more likely single. Always suggest like just put yourself, like go to a workout class if you like fitness. Go and look on Eventbrite. What are things happening in your community? And my biggest tip is do not compliment somebody on their physical looks if you're going to talk to someone in the world. Go up, I love that shirt. Oh yeah, that's really cool. Did you do the holes yourself? Or, oh my God, you're wearing a Whoop. What do you think of the new one? Is the data good? Make it something light so that this person doesn't feel uncomfortable at first and you can have an organic conversation. If they say the word boyfriend or girlfriend, abort mission and be like, thanks so much, need that info. Fuck off.
I love it. Any other topics you want to tip on? Because she's going to give it.
I'll give it. Just the tip, though.
Just break. Hey.
But
Breakups.
Yeah.
What is the best way to move on and make sure you don't regress?
Repeat the pattern.
Yeah, so I literally just did a breakup course with a friend who's a neuroscientist, and really at the end of the day, like if we're gonna meat and potatoes this, one, accept it. Stop trying to fight the fucking current. Accept that this breakup happened. Second, feel your emotions. Third, no contact is huge. No texting, no phone calls. Don't look at the text. Delete the number. Block them on Instagram if you need to. Mute them. Do what you need to do. We are looking at an addiction loop because after a breakup, your cortisol is going to spike through the roof. Your dopamine is going to completely plummet. So you're constantly just trying to get back to baseline and you're completely below baseline. So we have to replenish all of those aspects of those neurotransmitters. So spending time with friends, going outside, movement, things like that. That's how you get serotonin and that's how you get dopamine back in your brain, which has been depleted. Then it's mindfulness, meditating, things like that to keep your cortisol down. But it's an addiction. So we have to break the addiction loop. 21 days, no contact. 21 days, nothing about them because you need to make them a real person and start to take them off the pedestal, take accountability of your part in it, but also hold them accountable for theirs.
Sabrina Zohar, ladies and
I'll be
gentlemen.
going through your videos later. Holy shit!
Yeah, no, her podcast is really.
Yo,
It
I
is
got
so
one. I got
scary.
one only because I wanted to hit home. Oh man. Okay. The awkward feeling. Yeah. What do you say to someone who feels like they have the awkward feeling? And I feel like more people experience this than not. The awkward feeling that they're locked in a relationship that they started before they became the person they wanted to be.
We have to look at that as like, are you growing together or not? Right?
Yeah.
Because like I love my partner. If we were not growing, we both have talked about this many a times. If we didn't have that progress, we wouldn't be together. It's okay to also look like my mama has always said, I don't believe in one soulmate. I believe you have different soulmates at different parts of your life. And so if that means that for now this works, but maybe for now it's not going to. And so
Is it fair to keep that person a partner? Is it fair to be seriously dating if you think there's a future point where you're going to be who you want to be and can enter the pool as that person, or is that's a fuckboy?
I was gonna say, I think that's a little bit of delusion of like, because we have this idea that like we're gonna be this thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm not that thing. You know, we have to understand that like twists and turns and like maybe them in your life might create something different for you. But I think what we need to see is like, do they check your non-negotiables and boundaries list? Are they reciprocal, consistent, caring, empathetic? Do you feel like they listen to you? Do you feel seen, heard, and understood? Do they create a space where you can also grow? Because if I'm trying to find out who I am, like after the name change, I lost my marbles. I didn't know who I was. I had an identity crisis. My partner created a space for me to find myself again. And that's because I could have been like, oh, I'm not that person and I need to leave. And it's like, well, but that's part of a partnership, right? And so it's okay if you're going to grow and evolve, but if you start to see you're not growing and evolving together, it's a real conversation to have together of like, hey, I think we've run its course, which is why I'll always say it works for now. Doesn't mean it has to, because that's detachment. We have to release control of the outcome. I'm trying everything. We are set to, we want to get married. We want to do all that. If it doesn't happen though, that's also okay. That's part of life, right?
Yeah.
And we're not guaranteed an hour from now. So why am I going to fucking commit to some and make these promises I can't keep?
Last one. Is it wrong for ladies or men to expect a certain economic situation from their partner? Like you hear the whole thing, 6'5", want a guy in finance.
I'll say that. Nothing in life is free. So if you want to go,
Facts. Talk that talk.
you want to do I want this guy that's going to he needs to be 6'5" in finance. And let's even break that down. Trust fund. You don't have any of that money. The family controls your trust fund. You don't get any of it. I have plenty of friends with trust funds. They don't have a fucking pot to piss in unless it's given to them. Yeah. Second of all, finance. Ugh, gross. But like, please.
Your guys' tech.
Yeah, please. No, in New York, you're like the finance guy was a. But I think it's one of those, we have to look at what is it that you want that person to embody. So I want someone wealthy. Okay, well, what is that wealth going to give? Oh, it gives me freedom. Okay, so you want freedom. Okay, what does that wealth give? Oh, he's driven. So you want someone driven. We have to look at what are the characteristics that you want in somebody, because you can cometh and taketh. My podcast was the perfect example. You could have everything and then in a flash, you lose it. So what are you going to do when that millionaire makes the wrong investment and loses it all? You're just going to leave? So we have to also remember that like, cool, if you want the wealthy guy that's successful and he's traveling the world and all that, he's not going to have as much time for you. Nothing in life is free. You are you're signing a contract just like he is. And a lot of these girls that are like, I want a provider mentality. It's like, cool, go in the fucking kitchen, cook, clean, take care of the goddamn house then, because that's what you wanted. You want someone that's going to take care of you. Well, then you need to have a conversation as to what that looks like. You want to make all this money and do your life and travel the world, but someone has to take care of you. It's not your father. So we have to be realistic of like, what are the characteristics you want this person to embody? If you want someone that's driven and secure in their finances, that's fine. Great. Then you know the type of people you want to date. Then you also have to embody those characteristics.
So good.
Or be really hot. You know what I mean?
Hey.
Listen, if you're at home and you want to evolve your personal conversation around dating, you follow Sabrina and start listening to the pod. There's so many great episodes on there. And it is a conversation. It's an evolving conversation around dating, relationship, self-work. And you kind of have to immerse yourself in it for a while if you really want to start doing the work and like opening up.
Are we just going to let her tips ride? Do we even need to
feel
give
like,
any?
can we even give a fucking tip after all? I think we let her ride on this one.
That was extraordinary. And just lastly, date yourself, right?
Yeah, I will say this. Here's what I'll leave you with one fun fact that fucked me up really hard when I heard it. It takes 300 repetitions. So you have to go to, let's say, the gym 300 times, not 300 reps, for your body to remember a movement. If you want to embody a different mindset and internal, you have to repeat it 3,000 times. So just remember, on your journey as we're going, I'm at like $29.99 when it comes to certain things. Just hold yourself some compassion of like, hey, I need it 3,000 times. It's not going to happen overnight.
Hey.
That comes from science. That's
actual
a scientific fact.
Yes.
So that's why we have to learn lessons 1,000 fucking times. You go like, I've been here before.
3,000 times.
3,000 to be exact.
I've been here before. I've been here before.
That's too damn bad.
Too damn bad.
Too damn bad.
So you have to do something 3,000 times. So you have to break your loop 3,000 times for you to have a new neural pathway. So have fun.
Take me about 18 years to be
That's
present with you
10
guys
years.
again.
You got it.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you
love
so much.
chatting with you.
What a great conversation.
I'm coming on your pod when we can schedule that. But man,
figure it
you're
out.
scheduled way in advance, man. You're
Hi,
organized.
I'm anxious.
She said I'm anxious.
I know you keep doing this because I keep throwing my thing up, but I
All
really
right.
do when I do this.
Dope.
All right, everyone go follow Sabrina Zohar.
I'm doing it right now.
These guys are about to be off the market, guys. So act quick.
Yeah, come on.
All right, love you. See you next week.
Love you.
Peace.
Goodbye.
Bye, guys.
Hey! Thanks for watching this week's episode. Guys,
shout out.
is it time for
Super Friends Dance.
Thank you for being patrons. We love you. Special shout out. Thanks for making this
Love you.
this podcast possible. Go to patreon.com/nedspod
That part.
if you want more from
That
us
part.
and to support us. We love you.
Love
Thank
you.
you.
See you next week.
Bye.